starting with your Swinpressions of the Solitaire Conspiracy.
Yeah, so this is something. So this game came out on 7th of October, so it's been a little bit, but I was going to actually give some Swinpressions, but unfortunately, it was that week when I was in hospital, so and I just didn't have a chance to really catch up and play the game properly, in the last podcast. So I thought, no, I'm still going to give my impressions of the game because it's something that not only did I purchase, so this wasn't some free Game Pass game. This is on Steam. I purchased it, so I wanted to get my money's worth. But also, I think it's a game that I really want to talk about because I have a love of the developers of past games. So, Solitaire Conspiracy is a narrative-driven spy adventure game, a spy card game that's based on Solitaire. It is not an exact version of Solitaire, but it's kind of based around the general concept of you have to stack the cards from ace to king for each suit. So that's when you talk about different versions of Solitaire, whether it's Klondike or Tri-Peaks or Spider Solitaire, they're all kind of based around the concept of having to stack the cards in the deck in that order. And this is certainly not the first narrative Solitaire game. There's a game that I've been wanting to give a try for ages called Regent Solitaire. There's also Solitarica, I think it's called. These are games that kind of take Solitaire and then just really expand on the concept. They're games that I've heard a lot about and need to give a shot. But this game, Solitaire Conspiracy, is developed by Bithell Games, headed up by Mike Bithell, who is quite renowned, actually. So came out on the scene with Thomas Was Alone, which is a fantastic, hilarious puzzle game. I don't know if you've ever heard of Thomas Was Alone, Intergot.
No, never.
If you see, I assume Thomas Was Alone is on Switch. If it's not, if it's cheap, pick it up. It's super funny. Puzzles are really great. You're controlling just different size colored blocks, but they all have different personalities, and the narrator kind of talks about it. And I can't remember. I think it might be who's the guy that makes The Office?
You mean Ricky Gervais, or do you mean
No,
the US one?
Stephen Merchant. I have a feeling.
Oh yeah.
Let me just double check this. For some reason, I think that Stephen Merchant was the. Oh no, it's not. Sorry, it's a guy called Danny Wallace, but he's very Stephen Merchant-esque, if that makes sense. No, but he's very similar in tone to.
Okay.
Like Steve Merchant voiced the character in Portal 2 that you carry around and stuff like that. But yeah, so it's awesome game. And then I also loved Subsurface Circular, which I did play on my Switch, which is kind of a text adventure detective game where you're a robot having to figure stuff out by chatting to other robots that come on a train that's constantly circling an underground network. Really, really cool. And so I was super excited to give this game a shot. He's also released some other games, sequel to Subsurface called Quarantine Circular, which was all about a pandemic. So that's interesting. Reading about that game made me feel a little uneasy. But yeah, so I was super pumped to try this because I love simple card games, like just things like Solitaire and stuff that you can just play single player, things to pass time. So I wanted to give this a shot, and I don't know how I feel about it, honestly. So I will say that up front that he calls this release part of his Bithell short series. So they're not meant to be long games. They're meant to be very short, stylized experiences. And I would honestly say, and not in a negative way, that it's more style over substance. It's more about, hey, here's a cool thing that looks flashy, but don't expect to be playing this game for 20 hours or whatever. So I beat the campaign last night. So there's 3 modes. So there's a campaign mode that is story-driven. There is a skirmish mode and a countdown mode. Countdown mode is kind of like it will just keep sending you waves of cards, and then you've got to beat them in a certain amount of time, and there's a global leaderboard, which is okay. Not my kind of thing. Skirmish is basically just an infinite game that you just keep playing. So campaign, though, so you essentially... It's narrative in the sense that there's lots of FMV cutscenes. So each time you level up, you have to get up to level 15. That's basically when you finish the game or the campaign. And there's cutscenes where it features the likes of... I don't know if you know Greg Miller from Kind of Funny.
Yeah.
So Greg Miller's I guess, the main person that's speaking to in those cut scenes. And there's also a comedian that I'm not familiar with called, I think it's Inel Tomlinson. I don't know how to pronounce that, but a British comedian. He's also one of the other people in as well. It's I don't know if it works. He tried. Greg Miller tries. I think that as it goes on, the material that he's got is a lot better, and he does better with it. But it definitely it feels like a pandemic game, like a game that was made in a pandemic. Hey, we can record these FMV sequences and just send them to you. You know,
I
it
get yeah,
definitely
yeah,
feels
yeah.
like, oh, no one can do anything. We can't set up a studio to do this. Let's just get someone to record something in their home and they'll send it to us. Um,
That's interesting. Yeah.
and I mean, there's some development there, but honestly, I was expecting the story to be really cool. And they've got these bit of text before each. You can choose which mission you want to do, and I'll explain the mechanics in a moment. I just kind of want to get this narrative stuff out of the way. And none of it really hit home for me. I just kind of just skipped a lot of the text because it didn't hook me in any way. But it does get better, and the storyline kind of concludes in kind of an interesting way. But in terms of the actual game itself, which is what you're going to be doing most of the time, so you've basically got piles of cards on the side of a column of where you need to put the suits, and there's what they call crews. So there's 8 different crews that, with the face cards of each crew, and the game will have a mixture of crews. It might be 2 crews, 3 crews, which is basically the suits of cards. Their face cards will have abilities. Then this is where it's completely different from anything to do with solitaire. For instance, if I put the ace card in the center, then that powers up all the face cards of that suit. So those face cards, if I put them on another pile, it might shuffle the pile. It might bring the highest to the top or the lowest to the top. So some of these powers are negative, so you don't actually want to trigger them. Some of them might explode the pile and then scatter them randomly. One of them is pretty cool. So if you place the face card on, let's say, a 3, all other 3s that are not sorted into the piles already will surface to the top. So you can use a way to kind of, you get all the suits in the middle up to 2, and then you find a 3, you put that special card on it, and all the 3s will come and you can put them all in. And honestly, at the start, I kind of wasn't understanding a lot of that. But it's also, honestly, really easy. With solitaire different versions, there's ways you can get stuck. You can play a game that's impossible to complete because you haven't made the right
Yep.
choices or whatever.
Yeah. And
I
sometimes you
don't
don't know. You're not even able to be able to process that information.
correct. I have no idea if this game is built in a way where that's possible or not. If it's possible to lose, because I didn't lose. I didn't get stuck in any way. It feels like
This is just going back to you being a god tier gamer,
no.
beating King K. Rool on the first go.
No, honestly, the game's really easy, and I guess that's where the countdown mode, like the campaign's probably more to learn about the mechanics, and the countdown's where maybe most people might spend their time. But it did feel like, I'm like, is this supposed to be hard? It just feels just really easy. No,
I love that line. Is this
I'm
supposed to be hard?
no, because it felt like a game that could be actually really difficult if it was like designed that way, but it felt just like too simple. It was fun though, and I really wasn't sold at the start, but as I really got used to, okay, how am I actually planning out to use these special abilities rather than just them randomly happening because I haven't thought about it. It got a lot more fun, but I won't say that at the end of it that it was what I was expecting. I was almost expecting a more fleshed out storyline, or maybe you could actually equip what crews you want to use to tackle something, and you can do that in the skirmish mode. But it just, yeah, I guess at the end of it, it just felt a little flat for me. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to give those other titles that I mentioned, like Regent Solitaire, to give them a shot to see if that's kind of going to give me what I was expecting out of this. But overall, I think if it drops, $5 or below, I think it's worth a shot. I will say the presentation is fantastic. Each time you level up, you unlock a new kind of theme, which you can immediately equip, which is pretty cool. And it's got really great music. So from a presentation standpoint, as I said, style over substance, I think, with Bithell's games. So yeah, I don't know what to rate this. it's I enjoyed it, but also it's probably not the standout that I was expecting based on the other games I've played. So
And we might need to do this post show, but you know how we're starting to develop our own review scale, which is like a
what would you use
comparison.
for this? Solitaire games?
So wait, that's the thing. so so just, for people tuning in for the first time, so we landed on this idea that, we have a spectrum that has like bad and then like an average game, and the average game divides games that are basically good or bad in a binary way, and then we have a game that's like quote unquote perfect. So we've already done it for 2D platformers, which is a natural thing, very easy to classify. I don't know what we'd classify this game. I was like looking at it going, is this the Bithell continuum? Is this like Bithell games? Is this Solitaire games? I don't know. Maybe we'll have to talk post-show about what we're going to do here.
Yeah, maybe there's times when
conundrum.
Maybe there's times when this does not make sense.
Well, no, but you can always classify anything. So I almost feel like this might need to be on the random scale, just like whatever the other scale.
Yeah, I'd say if you like Bithell's other games, I think this is worth a try. But I can't remember the price. I wish I remember the price. All I know is I don't think it's worth it for the full price that I paid. It may have been like $20 or something Australian. I think if it goes on sale on Steam, or if it comes to other platforms, because I think it's only on Steam at the moment on PC, and it's cheap, then I'd say give it a shot. So, and I will also say that within the first like week and a bit, that he'd already released a new update that's like a new campaign plus mode, so the game may actually get more fleshed out over time as well. So yeah.
Okay, no, fair enough. Cool, sounds good.